Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, yWhales, wherever you are in the world. So somehow they've left me alone by myself with Mr. Dan Kang here from Berify, but I think I'll be able to handle it myself. Normally, I've got a little cohort here to manage my ADD, but that's okay. We'll absolutely seem to make it through here. That being said, let's jump right over to Dan. Thank you so much for coming on today, and we're here to eventually talk about Berify. But I really want to start back a little earlier. So where'd you come from, and what did you want to be when you grew up?
Well, I immigrated from South Korea when I was 4 years old, so pretty much been here my whole life. The the advent of what I wanted to be when I grew up, being an immigrant family, I think you just wanted to find whatever potential successes, and the support of the family was always, pivotal for us. Was raised in a family of seven. I'm the youngest of seven, and I have six older sisters. So my father and I used to go fishing a lot so we could stay away from home, if you can imagine. Our sister's her mother was very, very loving, but at the same time, a lot of things my father and I didn't understand at a very secluded age. But in growing up, I think the areas of interest was always, picking apart things. I guess I was a closet inventor, or I was inspired to figure out puzzles. So, were those the baselines of what I liked to do when I was growing up? I would say that's probably where it all started. But as we grew, and the whole focus would be is what does success really mean? As an immigrant family, I think it's stabilizing, creating a foundation for survival of just the basics of life. We're inspired by my father and mother being hard workers, although they were, you know, university graduates from University of Seoul. They came to the U.S. as laborers, and we knew what hard work was about. And I think that that ability to find sources for inspiration was pinnacle. Um, for me, I think the idea of how communities work became very relevant in my young age, because as immigrants, you rely on your community to really support small businesses and proliferate from there. So I don't know if we went too far back, but fast forward, went to
No,
school,
no, I love that thought
yeah.
about. Yeah, I love that thought about community, and really, because
Yeah,
to me, that's the biggest thing that Web3 is going to bring is communities. And
sure.
people are like, no, no, we have Facebook, we have all these things. We're talking about night and day about what a community it is in Web3 versus what it is, today and previous years. What was your first exposure to, blockchain technologies? When did you was it Bitcoin? Was it Ethereum? What kind of first got you on that kick to say there's something here?
Um, I forgot what the year was, early 2000s. My nephew texted me, "Hey, what do you think about Bitcoin?" I said, "Shut up, don't be a gambler." That was my first experience. But you started dabbling in it. I think that was anything. Go, this is, my point was this is probably what people, the bad guys, will do. They're gonna use this to use it for different industries that to evade taxes, all the negative things. And yeah, probably. I mean, uh, where did Web 2.0 or 1.0 start from, and how did it go, and what industries built the industry, right? So that was my first experience, but eventually I dabbled in it because I thought this is very interesting, because it resonated back to the whole idea of community. How do you walk away from the focus of capitalism and socialism? Is this somewhere in the mid ground of what the new utopia may look like? So yeah,
Interesting. Very, very
yeah,
interesting. And don't worry, I threw away my first 100 Bitcoins because they were absolutely no value and no usage. So I can never claim OG status other than I said, wow, this is cool. I went to the effort to acquire them and then didn't even go to the effort to store them or save them anywhere logical. So it's always a fun story to hear where people came from in the space. So let's go ahead and pivot. What was the core issue or theses around Verify, and then let's jump into what Verify is and does and how it solves that problem.
sure. I mean, I come from the apparel and merchandise manufacturing industry, 25 years into it. So we did very well in that industry. But one of the areas that was thought was is counterfeits. I mean, we face about $1.8 trillion worth of counterfeits, from apparel to even down to baby formula. So the problem that I want to solve is there technology that we have that is mature enough, but needs maybe a twist to it, so that we can actually authenticate from the source of manufacturing and really look at the traceability of supply chain management. So near field communication, which is a mature industry, NFCs, along with RFIDs, we believe, the technology is there, it's maturing. Interestingly, has it been catching on more B2B than B2C? But we use it everywhere, from our credit cards to, everything that you buy in the stores have some form of a passive chip embedded in products. So we thought, okay, how do I embed that back to a decentralized system rather than a centralized system? So about 3.5, 4 years ago, we said, okay, let's verify authenticity and supply chain using a blockchain, hence Berify. And so we started to develop a technology around creating UID and encasing a tamper-proof product that was locked into the blockchain. And fast forward 3 years, we have Verify. We had the foresight of knowing that it wasn't only for the utility of authentications, but the blockchain. When we embedded into an ERC 721, we didn't know that NFTs was going to be a thing. Fast forward 3, 4 years later, so we're very fortunate. Our patents were applied accordingly, and we believe our utility. We built pretty much the picks and axe for the Web 3.0. In our opinion, what we have not only is the basic principle of utility built into Verify, but it opens up huge amount of integration and engagement for those who tap on our products or utilize it in the supply chain management.
So give me just, and I'm sure there's plenty of examples, but give me a very standard use case of where the blockchain is going to solve a problem that the current centralized, servers, would not be able to manage.
Sure. To authenticate product and to have a decentralized system of a ledger, it's all about the ledger, and obviously the smart contracts for the engagement. So even those two basic principles of how the blockchain works really satisfy what we want to do. The true layer 2 security level that we need and want to make sure that it's not compromised by bad players in the industry. That's what we do. You could use QR codes and copy it and paste it and spoof it and put them to wherever you want to put them, or copy holograms. I mean, think of everything that's being counterfeited out there. It's too easy to replicate, and the bad players can replicate it over and over again, to the point where some of these products you don't even know if it looks better than the original product. So why not? So we want to make sure that the both players on the consumer side as well as the manufacturer really, we got to keep everyone accountable. I'll give you an example, like the manufacturer, and everyone knows about honey. We ship more honey. We're talking about liquid honey, bee honey. We ship more honey than the world can produce every year. So where is this honey coming from? Maple syrup. I mean, do you ever ask the question, where do our organic food comes from? We as humans just, are too believing in labels. Non-GMO. Do we ever really look at, is this real or not? So we wanted to create a decentralized way of creating a ledger for that traceability.
I listen. I entirely stand behind the idea of being
Mhm,
able to have tying physical, real world assets to verifiable authenticity
mhm,
from a manufacturer or a source. So walk us through how Verify works,
mhm.
and let's kind of dive into some of the details.
Yeah, in the simplest form, it's an NFC product. So you could take your mobile device, which about 87% of all mobile devices in the world are NFC capable now. And you would be able to go to it. Our simplest form would be a chip, um, whether it's customized, Verify, or the brand's chip. And simply they're passive chips. They're tamper-proof. You can put it on any product, and if someone tries to peel it off, it breaks it, so it doesn't work anymore. Or it could go down into physical chips or tags that we can embed into shoes or other consumable items.
Now this is, and I want to be clear about this for anyone listening. This is not your technology. Your technology is reading it. The NFC technology is matured. There's
Absolutely
standards across the world for this. And so while you have branded NFC tags and various things that you can use, the technology we're talking about today is the ability to utilize NFC technology both in the phone and through the various chips through
correct.
your app to verify the authenticity of those tags.
Yeah, and to further, it's not only our app, but we're creating SDKs and mobile web versions of it so that large corporations that we're working with, obviously, they wouldn't want to use our app. They want to embed it into their apps or their stores. So we're creating partnerships with some pretty major companies that I won't be able to talk about, but let's just say hotels. With memorabilia companies, and we're talking about multi-billion-dollar companies that, yeah, why did they think of this? Well, they did. A lot of them use supply chain of RFID and NFCs, but what they didn't have was the connectivity of the blockchain.
Oh yeah, I mean it's and the access and having to request access to these records and then being able to spoof them is even easier.
Correct.
Whereas the blockchain is verifiable. So
That
interesting.
is correct.
And I'm sure you probably have this, and I don't have it in my notes. What's the estimated consumer fraud of counterfeit products, in a year?
Yeah, and $1.8 trillion dollars.
Okay, so there's a sliver in there that you would like to correct,
Absolutely,
if not
whether
all.
it's through yeah, whether it's through our processes or not, but it is a problem that we need to keep companies in accountable for. And I think this is governmental solutions as well. I think our customers, border patrols, our CBPs can utilize our technologies, which we are talking to governmental entities as well. But it should be in the hands of not a select group that could verify, but any common person should be able to verify for their own purposes. That's what decentralization is that we give platforms and access to everyone, regardless of who they are.
Fabulous. So do you have a demo? Can I see how this works? Configured correctly, where it's not going to allow you to do these things, but
Mm.
see if there's a pop up that's behind one of your screens that says allow this. If not, no
Which I
big deal. We can
did,
keep going.
but it
Okay,
seems to not be coming up. I'll have to probably
that's
send
okay.
you a video, but
Done.
it's a video. Yeah, it's a video of a proof of concept for Nike or any luxury item that when with your mobile device you'll be able to check for authenticity. But not only are we checking for the basic utility of the authenticity, we now created an opportunity for a tap engagement, meaning a consumer, a person who's engaged and want to know more about the product is authenticating, but there's also a call to action integration that we built into our product where uh, brands can now communicate on a single UID. I mean, each chip is a DNA. It's a VIN number if people know cars, or it's a DNA of a human being. That product is now a digitally live product so that we could connect with. Um, uh, why this was important is now we've embedded into clothing. Give me 1 second. I'm going to grab some. Darren, can you grab me a Board Ape hoodie if it's up there? Now, the expansions of our utility is now only can we integrate it into to digital assets, but physical assets to cross and bridge over. So imagine a hoodie, which I'll show you in a second. I'll be able to tap on the embedded washable chip in a, let's say, a Board Ape hoodie. This is a
Look at
mutant.
that.
Yeah, that's a mutant.
Let me send you my address for one of those. Super cool.
And
I
it doesn't end there. Yeah,
No, you know what? Is it in the cuff of the sleeve? The
there
the
you go.
chip? There
Yeah.
were Yeah. So
So
did you
that
do there's one for permissionless is doing something. like that.
Yeah,
And I bought a couple hoodies that are
yeah.
doing this. Is that your product?
That one's probably not ours because we did an exclusive with our own assets of our apes between myself and Steve Aoki and a team of DAO members own quite a few bored apes and mutants and doodles and etc. So we're able to create some, cool benefits of owning our product. We're NFC chip, but it's also embedded into our app so that the actual NFT is embedded in there. So what we like to do is you know, basically it pops up our app, and we could go ahead
Oh,
and
this is great.
open,
I love this demo. Okay.
yeah, and then we could go ahead and read the chip. It's authenticating. It authenticated. Now, what it does is also
Okay.
gives us a pop-up of a call to action if you want to buy more products. So now here's the uh, engagement of the brand. If I've already bought something and I just want to go back to my original product, I could go in there and here's all the information of the product to verify that this is my product. Now, if I want to view the NFT, I just
This is
push the
very cool.
button, and now I have all the information of the ledger. So I can integrate once I own the product, I have access to my wallet, my MetaMask, and I could go ahead and drop it into my wallet for uh, recall, and I can now start saving all that information in my app. So
So that's very cool.
again,
So you're actually giving some of these, you're actually giving these NFTs real utility,
absolutely,
in a physical sense that they can be tied to it. So
sure.
now now obviously that's not ownership of, like, if somebody steals your hoodie, your NFT is safe, correct?
That is correct. So it is like stealing a car, but you don't own title to it. So it's real world applications because people are saying, well, what if they steal this tag and everything? Well, it's worthless because just like a car, you start stealing the VIN numbers off it. You have a car, but it's not really worth much. You don't have the digital assets to it. You don't have the title to it. So all the real world applications exist. And again, this is it's an important thing because the engagement is really strong. It's not a one-time buy and then you forget it. You got to remember all the smart contract capabilities that are built into these NFTs. You could think about the daily, every day you could come back, or every minute new information could be loaded. So Bored Ape or the owner or the brand could upload new engagements, new offers, new specials, new forms of you know golden tickets, if you want to say. There's huge applications of the utility.
So you're giving the creators another way to connect besides just dropping more garbage NFTs into their
Yeah,
into their wallet. So you've created a way for engagement through visitors and through owners, to have utility, which is what I believe
absolutely.
NFTs should be: a utility, not a JPEG.
Mhm. Yeah, it was a great applications of it, but when we first bought Bored Ape, yeah, we own a JPEG of a ape, that's cool art, but now it's actually an IP, it's an intellectual property, and how do we benefit from that? Well, Mickey Mouse on a sketch was a IP, and there's many versions of a mouse we could draw, but why is one more important than the other? It's the content, it's the creator's vision of what that IP looks like. And now, as us owners of this IP, what will we make this IP do that's special and different from everyone else? The utility, as you point out, Jay, is very important to us because it really begins to create that one-on-one relationship. Remember, this is a unique ID. It's a one-on-one relationship. Um, when we get to decentral world away from 2.0, what decentral will do is allow us to be really individualized and connected. That's what's important to us. Again, back to the community, being identified and having an identity.
So real quick, because I want to talk again. I have a decent handle on both sides of the technology here. So I want to,
Mhm. Sure.
on the RFID tags, which are
Hmm.
crucial to this working,
Hmm.
those are generally very hackable.
RFID or
What other
NFC?
security protocols have you put in place to, The RFID, meaning that somebody, a real, again, we're not talking about off the shelf, but people can replicate those tags.
Yeah.
So how do you guys manage the security around these?
RFID and NFC, so they're similar but different products, obviously. RFID in terms of radio frequencies of UHFs, passives, and NFCs, which are chips that are near field, so you have to be in contacts, very close proximity to reading it. RFID portion works because we make hybrid chips, which is RFID NFC capable. The RFID portion of it is great for supply chain management so that you could take a sweeping inventory of a million square foot facility in a matter of minutes and have your full inventory control up to about 98% accuracy, right? You're from the industry. Whereas
Yep.
the NFC portion of it
Yep.
is just like your credit card. You take your credit card and you're reading the chip on the credit card. That gives you a unique ID. So the hackable part of it, anything is hackable, but is it worth it to an individual to hack a single UID? What's the point of it? Yeah, maybe if you're hacking a multi-million dollar item, but it's really difficult to try to sell off that unique product, right?
Gotcha. So in the world of I'm just spitballing here to understand, the risk here, and
Mhm.
it would be pretty minimal because they would have to
Mhm.
know every single exact code of what was. So
Yeah,
if you're, a shoe company and you want to put this in there, they would have to one-to-one match and replicate every single one of those tags, because if they just make up a
absolutely.
bunch of tags, it's not going to represent correctly on chain. Okay, that's fair.
And not only that, if it did get compromised, our dashboard and capabilities to deactivate that product, so it's removed from the system.
Great. So let's talk about some other use cases. I mean, clearly there's, again, what your market, your your market here is 1.8 trillion dollars. So there's a lot
Yeah.
there. How does this manage for something like cars that
Sure.
don't necessarily need, RFID or NFC? They have tags and everything allowed. But what's your target, like, clothing we just looked at? What's the biggest industry you guys are going to go into?
We try to figure that out, and we're very focused right now. But it's anything that has high engagement and creating new revenue streams. For instance, we're working with some major hotels to allow each hotel room be an experience center rather than just a room. So imagine all the products and opportunities, whether it be a robe or whether it be soap or consumable items in there that we love but don't know where to buy it. We have the opportunity to tag everything in there and let the engagement start. In doing so, the hotel has a new revenue stream to partner with the brands that want to have a department center, an experience center, and it's completely, activated by a tap on our products. So it is very highly engaged.
That's awesome. So where's the product today? How many, people are using it, and what's, kind of the roadmap over the next, 6, 12, 18 months?
Our roadmap right now is, again, we've been in the industry for 3 years, but what's happened is that as we are just a utility company and it pivoted into this engagement portion of our application, it is actually, I mean, it's gone quite fast. It's on a vertical rise, and the ability to engage and connect with one another has become an amazing event. So the next 16 to 18 months, I would say, is I don't know how to really capture all of the opportunities right now. Yeah.
Is the supply chain messing with you guys a little bit? I know some things are harder to get, but, I feel like the RFID NFC tags shouldn't be anything near as hard as microprocessors.
It is still a engagement process. Give me one second. The engagement process has become a huge opportunity, obviously, but the supply chain, yes, definitely an the opportunities of us finding new resources from both the Asia importers and domestic because of some of the Department of Defense questions that came up too. I mean, we're going to have to revisit that and figure out different solutions. But I think because of the mature state of our industry, we have great opportunities.
That's fabulous. That's fabulous.
Yeah.
So what's been kind of the biggest surprise you guys have had, you know, in recent, you know, in the last, you know, 6+ months of either adoption or deployment, things that you just, again, I always look for how did the team have to pivot? What was something that you
Yeah.
guys thought you had solved and you had to pivot to form a solution?
It was just about, you know, in any business, what you want to provide for our B2B side or our customers is everyone's looking for how to reduce their cost of goods or create a new revenue stream. So those are two key points that we focused on and realized, hey, there was an aha moment for myself when I was looking at our product and saying, you know, here's something where brands should be protecting themselves. I thought that would be a given that people would want to protect their IPs, but you'd be surprised how many major brands they want to protect themselves, but they also don't really care. It's kind of like, you know, the our identity theft protection. There's so many tools out there, but how many people actually buy and use it? People go, you know, they kind of moan about the fact that their identity is being stolen, but they don't do anything to protect themselves, or nor do they want to pay for it. So I had to figure out, you know, let's address it a different way. How do I reduce and alleviate that by giving them a utility? And then how do I create a new revenue stream for these brands? So our NFC products or our Verify did that for businesses. And that's when it started taking off. I've given the business the opportunity. Let's give you an example of the hotels. I've given them an opportunity because they're suppliers of their soaps and products in their hotels. They're all paid for by the hotel. I said, what if I could give you a partnership with soaps and suppliers that say, hey, I'll give you to a cost, or maybe I'll just put it in there as samples because it's a much better way to engage clients anyway. I rather put it in your hotel rooms than put out some ad with Google or Facebook that I don't generate any real leads from anyway.
Just that market concept is its own business in and of itself. Like, I mean,
Absolutely.
every hotel, and for those of us that have done business travel, it's like there's sometimes I really do enjoy the soaps and shampoos that they give me, but I have no idea what they are the second that I leave the room. It's good, it's gone.
Absolutely.
You know, I may or may not look it up, and I think that's great that they let me have it. But yeah, it's a huge business model. Talk to me a little bit about your team.
Yeah.
You know, 3 years, you're a mature blockchain company. So in
Hmm.
blockchain worlds, that's at least a decade plus you've been in business.
Sure.
You know, what's your team like, and how's it been recently?
Well, we have a team of a little over 30 persons. During the pandemic, we were kind of offsite. A lot of our developers here in the US. So mainly we're a software company. So we were mainly focused on a platform again. I'll go back to my childhood, and the whole idea of community was always a big factor when I was in the apparel industry. And once I exited that side because I wanted to kind of, you know, leave a legacy of something that I really wanted to do, was is we worked on a platform called Lemonade TV, which still exists. We own a lot of IPs and libraries of information of what how we could use that platform. And Lemonade TV stood for Lemonade Stands, and wanted to create a QVC for individual people, kind of an Etsy, but more of an interactive video streaming, interactive buy now. Lemonade TV is out there. Uh, Adoption has been slow because obviously we still have not caught up in the Western side. In Asia, it's a multi-billion-dollar industry to create your own QVC type of streams, but it's a little slower here in the West. We have an incredible platform. We own a lot of IPs around it. And so Verify was supposed to be one of the products that helped Lemonade TV, which was making sure anything sold was authenticated. So from the derivative of a byproduct where we develop Verify, it has become the main product.
Listen, and that's just the way it works. And
Yeah,
that's any good entrepreneur is going to have to make a pivot. And so, really, congratulations to you guys.
thank you.
Technology wise, I can probably guess the answer, but what chain are you guys on, and what are you
Sure.
what's the roadmap for adoption go as you scale?
Yeah. Currently on Polygon Matic, so that it is more of an inexpensive gas fee at this time. Of course, the as we scale, will it still be useful? I mean, every chain has had its own issues, but right now they've been pretty good. The Polygon chain has been a perfect use case for us. So that's where we're at this time.
So when you look at scaling and you look at going up, when you're deploying millions of these a day potentially as you go
Hmm.
forward, even Polygon still has a cost. Is that cost too expensive compared to centralized solutions, or what's your guys' thought as a team?
Polygon is sub 1 cent, so I mean it is a cost, but it's still, yeah, it's an inexpensive opportunity, and we'd love to pay it. But so it's got to be paid somewhere. So um, if in the future that we become so large, do we have to create our own chain? I mean, layer two, there's options and opportunities. I guess we'd have to address as we get closer to the amount of adoption we have.
Listen, I always like to just understand where your guys' heads
Hmm.
are and what you're scaling. And Polygon is a fabulous solution.
Hmm.
A lot of people are going to ZK rollups. My question was more around the matter of when there's when you're deploying millions a day and potentially,
Hmm.
in some of these things, millions an hour.
Sure.
It's yes, it's a fraction of a penny, but it all adds up pretty quickly when you're dumping that much in. So something like a
Sure.
ZK rollup would make a little bit more sense. But that was also this thing. Does it even matter to your consumers at this point? The people that are adopting,
Yeah.
it's a little bit bleeding edge technology. Do they bring that up, or is that a just something you guys made a decision on?
No, it's more of our tech team deciding where the pivots should be, and we don't actually have to be isolated to one or one chain technically, because we can be Ethereum based. We're very capable of pivoting into anywhere. Remember, our system is we don't have to mint it at that moment in time. We could hash it and then mint it on a need basis as well. So we can, you
That's
know,
that that's very true.
yeah.
You can wait till 2 a.m. and then batch them all out.
Absolutely. And then we could also probably build our algorithms to mint on depending the traffic.
Fabulous, fabulous.
I know it sounds very philosophical, but the reality is we have, like you said, just too much junk out there. And how do we really relate back to and being really conscious of what we're consuming? And these reviews and these relationships that people have between the products, how do we make a peer-to-peer sustainant value rather than bogus reviews? How do we reward uh, our communities in doing so? And a lot of this information came from my 14-year-old son. I had him do a white paper explaining to me his position on how Roblox and Minecraft is actually lay the groundwork for the future of Gen Z and our 3.0. And he was right on, and he said, "I'll go back if I make money off of it and I'm rewarded." So capitalists at best. I see how Roblox and everything is out there. Is that the whole opportunity for them is I want to enjoy my life, but at the same time I want to be rewarded in doing that and having that engagement. So I thought, you know what? That's the core human capitalistic idea, I suppose.
It's very interesting. And I've got a 14-year-old son. The same thing. I'm constantly like, what does this mean to you and your friends? Because
Yeah,
we're just at this point, like the world that we're building is theirs, and it's hard to sometimes go ask a kid in junior high, like, how do you want us to build this?
sure,
Because they're
sure,
like, they don't understand money, they don't understand jobs, but this is the technology for the next 3 to 4 decades plus. And
absolutely.
thinking of how long the Swift system's been around. How do you
Mhm.
guys? So I'm gonna jump into kind of my metaverse question. How
Sure.
will you guys manage? And we see this constantly. At least two startups a week saying, "Hey, we make luxury brands
Mhm.
NFTs."
Yeah,
And my question to them all is always, how are they coupled from a luxury NFT to a luxury brand? And their answer is generally it's not. you
Sure.
have the ability to do so, to actually, like, if I want this red ball to appear in the metaverse, you have the ability to verify that I own it and verify it's in my wallet, and do a variety of things. What's the vision on kind of the blending between physical, digital, and the metaverse?
Yeah. So I think our product is that the the beauty of it is that we built the tool to bridge the two. The Give me a second. I'm going to interview. um, let's start over on that. The opportunity for our Verify is the actual tool as a bridge between all of those that we just spoke of, the IRL to the digital world and metaverse. So that connectivity for us to connect a product and creating a unique ID and tagging it. Now I could actually take that ID and move us into a multiverse. So I give a lot of our clients an example of a video that was done by a group called AHA. It's I'm aging myself, but that song, from AHA, there was uh, a song called "Take on Me" where a person is in the real world and they jump into a TV and they're in this avatar animated version of themselves. That's the metaverse, right? So can I take
Yep.
my wearables or my physical products that is verified, which has a connectivity, and then the NFT, if I jump into these multiverses, will I have a library of how that wearable should look like in each multiverse that I enter? Yes. So our long path is that now that we have that connected bridge that we bridge all our physical products to, can I take and wear that in any multiverse? As long as each multiverse gives us the code of the library to build, yeah, now it's interoperable in our position. I can now take my hoodie and wear it in Sandbox or Decentraland, and it'll just look different because that world is a little bit different from the world that I just came from, but the connectivity is the same.
So with a lot of these, things, that the data is what's huge, and
Hmm.
while there's clearly a function and a use case for the user and the manufacturer, what's the
Hmm.
data side of this look like? I mean, I can imagine a world where, I hope there's shopping malls in the future, but
Yeah,
people are walking into malls, and thousands of Verify tags are being read as people walk through, helping with marketing, helping with understanding where the trends are going and who's wearing what, instead of
sure.
trying to do the the visual, like, where they pay people to stand in a crowd and go, 17 pairs of Nikes, 12 pairs of Adidas.
Yeah.
So is that a function you guys have debated on?
Absolutely. And if the consumer, the account holder of the app, wishes to have information, which they do, it's a collectively, it's a we're not forcing any data from them, but they're tapping on it. So it's actually really high engagement. If the person is tapping on a product, that's already the initial engagement that, hey, I'm interested. So my data will probably be worth a lot more than you know uh, unsolicited spam emails or texts or whatever is going out there in terms of the marketing. So that $720 billion ad industry, I think we're creating a very great use case for the people who actually, if I'm tapping on this product and I'm tapping on luxury products and I'm tapping on certain types of organic foods, what data am I harvesting from that? Some very, very, very tight and closed information that's usable. And so, just to peer into what our revenue stream will look like, we as a partner now could help bring in new revenue streams from, let's say, it is a water company or a consumable product company. Maybe it's a Fiji water, and Fiji water, their profit margin is 2 cents a bottle. Well, if I have a verified tag on there and there's a complementing product that would love to advertise along with Fiji, that's a moving bus or a sponsored race car creating new advertising revenue streams that it's all about distribution. And a Fiji water drinker has a very special um, demographics, right? They like something about it, and who
Oh,
are their
absolutely.
complementing products? Yeah.
So by that same note, and again, playing around on your website, there's clearly the manufacturer. They create they're logging these NFTs, they're creating
Mhm.
the accounts, and then there's the user side. If
Mm.
myself as a user, and I'm a photography, geek and whatnot, and so I'm always having to inventory my all my gear for the insurance
Mhm.
company. Even if my camera doesn't have a Berify tag, but it does have a serial number, am I able to import that into my, am I able to use this for cataloging anything,
Yep.
or is it
Uh,
restricted to Berify products?
Technically, right now it's for verified products. Maybe in the future path we can, but if you look into some areas of the app, it shows everything that I've tapped. They're recorded as my history, so I could always go back and re-look at it, even though I'm not tapping. But I have that, and I can now save products so that, hey, I really like this product, and if I want to rebuy, I just want to be able to go somewhere where I can bring that information back up and buy again. Again,
Yeah, I
the
mean, and
future
like I said,
holds huge
I
opportunities.
yeah, no, I can speak to the counterfeit thing in numerous cases because, again, going back to the photography side of things, when I buy a lens from a third party or on eBay, whatever the case is, the steps you have to go through to get that serial number, go to the manufacturer's website, enter
Yeah,
that in, and jump through all those hoops is quite onerous. Versus, if I'm in a store and I just want to say, is this a real lens? Yes or no. To
sure,
have that verify that quickly is, I mean, again, the use cases for this are fabulous.
sure.
What is it going to take for, what's your adoption level today, and where's your goals through kind of the next year or so?
The adoption rate is right now, because we focus on some very high level businesses, we have not been deploying it. There's a lot of smaller businesses that want to adopt it, which we're more than happy to put them on the wait list. But we needed to have more adoption and user friendly ways of educating the community. So right now we're focused on some very large verticals that the deployment for 2022, 2023 will be in the millions of units. But we want to make sure people understood the technology a lot easier, and we focus in that area than trying to diversify into smaller capsules. Once it's done, I think the smaller capsules and brands it'll be a lot easier for them to educate their community rather than trying to go the opposite way.
Perfect, perfect. Well, I mean, again, absolutely fabulous, and I love it. So, you're a board ape geek, and you got all sorts of fun stuff. What are you seeing in and around Web3, whether it's NFTs or any type of technology that's just kind of got you excited?
Well, we consult with a lot of main brands, and I'm a people know will probably know who I am, but I have a little Instagram page where I'm a collector and user of hypercars, so Koenigsegg's, Pagani's, Lamborghinis. Uh, those are my hobbies that became a interesting way to really connect and network with people. And because of that hobby, I found the opportunities of where 3.0 is going to go. And again, my legacy of community became a very important topic. And one of those things that we're consulting with some auto industries is the metaverse as a proving ground. Kind of, if people understand what Linux was, it was a peer-to-peer group idea of closet engineers and scientists that could create and develop the Linux system as an open source program. So our proposition to one of the brands and auto brands is, I think you should create a metaverse of your world where closet or stay-at-home inventors, designers, and people could come and be rewarded through an NFT drop. All the proceeds of that NFT will be as used as a reward system to come back and develop your next car, develop your next designs, your technologies. How beautiful would it be to create that roadblocks effect for the real world? Now we're going the opposite way. If we can get people to come in and start gamifying and designing cars out of a hobby or real engineering expertise and rewarding them, I think that you'll probably find those diamonds in the rough that's going to be true and immense powerful engineers that can help you take your company to the next level. And now this has become a community brand. It's a win-win situation if you really think about it.
No, I think it's a fabulous way to look at it, and it's a way to kind of open up in some of the cases what's a very exclusive membership to allow other people that just want to be fans, they want to be inclusive, a way to be inclusive while still while still recognizing the exclusivity of the actual project and
Absolutely.
whatnot. So I think it's a fabulous one.
Sure. I mean, it's kind
Fabulous.
of historic.
Well,
Yeah. 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 There'll be historic
so
events
Dan,
around it
how
because of how even if we
keep
look
going,
at
go
historic
go.
events of sorry, just historic events of like when you look at the Brooklyn Bridge or some monuments that we have in our real world, there's names and inscriptions and histories of provenances of my great great grandfather worked on that bridge. Those stories, and I think the metaverse should be that.
No, I think it's one of those things that looking back on an interview like this today, 10 years from now, we're really going to be like, oh my God, we had no idea what was coming. Like
Sure.
the best technologies for Web3 most likely haven't been invented yet. That's how early we are.
Hmm.
But I absolutely believe that what Berify is doing is a core concept that's needed to validate things on chain and to move forward. So, Dan, how if people are interested, they want to know more, how can they get a hold of you? How can they get a hold of Verify and start using and testing your projects?
Sure, there's info on our website. Again, you could contact me in my email. It's dan.k@lemonade.tv. I do have a Verify address, but I stick with my Lemonade email address just because there's been interesting, a whole nother topic, but that whole industry in itself. Our legacy of as a company is to create more and more lemonade stands for our community.
I love it. I love it. yWhales, thank you guys so much for your time today. This is Dan Kang with Berify. And Dan, hang out here for a second, but for everyone else, we'll see you soon.